This Bank of America ROVAL 400 DFS Picks edition of the NASCAR Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Gametime. Snag the tickets without the stress. Use promo code SGPN on your first purchase to save $20. Download the Gametime app and use promo code SGPN. We're also brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Underdog has just added Pick'em Scorchers, where you can win 100 times. That's right, turn $5 into $500 in one game. Plus, every Sunday, they're giving away $100,000. Use promo code SGPN at Underdog Fantasy for a 100% deposit bonus up to $100. Finally, we're brought to you by Hall of Fame Bets, the sports betting research platform for parlays, player props, and game lines. Download the Hall of Fame Bets app or visit hofbet.com and use code SGPN to get 50% off of your first month and start making smarter bets today.
Driver, start your engine!
Strap in and pull those belts up tight as the Sports Gambling Podcast Network presents the NASCAR Gambling Podcast.
I'll wreck my mom to win a championship. I'll wreck your mom to win a championship.
With all the news and the best bets for your NASCAR weekend.
It refrains me from not beating the out of you right now because you asked me stupid questions. But since I'm on probation, I suppose that's improper to say as well. If you could talk about racing things, we could talk about racing things.
Now, here are your hosts, Rod Villagomez and Cody Zeeb.
We are here. Yes, both of us are here. It's the NASCAR Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. He's Cody Zeeb, as I've just brought him in. Again, watch YouTube, folks. You guys are missing out on some of this fun little behind-the-scenes stuff if you're not watching on YouTube. But he's Cody Zeeb. I'm Rod Villagomez, hanging it with you on a Friday for DFS. And, back on the ROVAL, which Cody informed me the other day that will be appearing again in the schedule, and I hate it, but whatever, Cody.
Yep, it's not going away. Yeah, we talked. If you missed yesterday's Xfinity show, definitely go back and listen to that for sure. But we talked about that as there had been a lot of rumors, and when we recorded the Cup show, it was kind of like, well, maybe the ROVAL's going away. This might be the last time. We'd heard some rumors that it was like Dale Jr. was saying he heard it was going away. Some other people were saying, we've heard that Marcus Smith really wants to keep it and he really likes it, and it's still here. So here we are.
Boo. Boo, I say boo. And it's not that I'm not a fan of, obviously, road course racing, but I just want to get rid of this hybrid stuff. Like, even at Indy, even at Charlotte, I don't want this stuff anymore. I said it yesterday. Ovals are not meant to be road courses. And I understand the concept behind it. I thought, okay, this is kind of neat, but it's played its course. I'm done. I'm ready for us to go back to either regular road courses or just straight ovals. Yeah,
I don't mind it. I just the reason I wouldn't want it is because I would want a second Charlotte oval date. And when they switch it to the ROVAL, a mile and a half racing at the time wasn't very great. And it was like, okay, good idea. This is a good way for them to keep the second date and to change it up. It's something different, right? Something, and they did it there in Daytona. So it's kind of something we were using a couple of places. That was during the whole COVID thing, and we were limited. We couldn't go to Sonoma. We couldn't do some other stuff. So it was like, okay, great idea, great to fill in. Maybe it's run its course. I think we're going to see, and it's going to be, like we've said, this is going to be an action-packed race. And so, depending on the results, we'll see. But like the good race poll is probably going to be pretty good. People are going to like it. It's going to be a lot of talking. We're going to come in and be like, holy shit, that was crazy, but it was so exciting. And that's likely how it's going to go. And they like it. TV likes it, obviously. So that's probably part of the reason it stayed. But yeah, with the mile and a half package being so good right now and doing so well in this car, and we had a great race, the Coca-Cola 600, it's like, give us another one of those. But then you also consider, Montreal was close to making the schedule, right? That was the last thing that was holding everything up. That's going to be a road course. They weren't able to do that. So was that part of the factor in that, okay, we still want so many road courses, so let's keep the ROVAL then, instead of maybe if we would have gotten Montreal and not went to Iowa, maybe Charlotte goes back to being an oval then because we got that balance of road courses to ovals. I don't know, but who knows? Here we are anyways.
I would have much rather seen Montreal. I mean, obviously our time watching F1, we know that the course over there is just beautiful. That's the same course that we're going to run on, right?
I believe so. And Xfinity's been there before.
Yeah.
The cup I don't think has done anything there in the past, but yeah, why that didn't work out, I don't know. Obviously glad Iowa's going to be on there because obviously it's right here in the Midwest and it's a great facility and everything. But yeah, again, that could have been a factor into why Charlotte stayed with the Roval instead of going back to the oval. Who knows?
But of course, we are talking about DFS today. We've already gone through. If you haven't already, go through our betting shows, the Cup and the Xfinity. Today is DFS, 109 laps around this 2.28 mile road course for 248.520 miles. We've alluded to it before, especially in the betting episode. There will be stage cautions in this, which means you'll have a variety of strategies. So trying to pick leaders for this one, trying to pick a lot of things for this one will have you absolutely going batty because I'm telling you right now, we identified some stuff in the betting episode, but for DFS purposes, this is probably going to be one of the more frustrating slates you will ever encounter.
Yeah, I think that this is going to be to a degree almost like picking a super speedway, just like we kind of talked about with the bets, because there's a lot of factors that go into this. Sure, Tyler Reddick, maybe he qualifies fast and he starts on the pole and he leads all of stage one. But after that, once he starts flipping the stages, is he going to keep leading any laps after that? Is he going to get back up to the front if he decides to take the stage points? Does he take stage points in both stages? Does he take stage points in one stage? Who does take stage points? Who doesn't take stage points? There are so many varying factors in here that it's going to be really tough this week to nail down, who does what and what works for who. And then on top of that, actually picking the cars that end up front and surviving the chaos. And like we said, this could be multiple overtimes and we get crazy restarts. And so you got to find guys that survive all that, because sure, if you find the guy that drives second place all day long until the last overtime and then he gets spun out and he finishes in 32nd, well, he didn't really get you any points throughout the day then, did he? So makes it tough. Laps led, obviously a factor, but only 109 laps. So that's not going to be as big of a key. And again, and I'll kind of make the case when we get to my top driver. I think the reason I'm going to play him is I think he could lead a lot of laps, but I think you've got to be careful if you're getting guys that end up points racing, because they might lead some laps for a little bit, but then once they get behind the 8 ball on not flipping the stages, they're not going to get back up there and lead those laps again. Is their result going to be as good? There's so many factors to weigh into building DFS this week. It's going to make it tricky, which in turn makes it fun, of course, because that's always exciting. But yeah, it's going to be a wild one this weekend. And then again, all the strategy, all that stuff. Then you throw in what could be a chaotic ending if we get cardboard on the track, if we get a bunch of overtimes. That could be like a super speedway where your entire lineup changes 100 times as far as the swinging of the points there in the last lap or a few laps.
And really what we've seen too over the course of these road course races and with Indy and all that, it's place differential is not, especially at the top, it's not a big factor either. So you're going for finishing positions, you're going for the potential to lead laps, maybe turn a few fastest laps, because where they qualify, especially up the top, with these guys like Denny Hamlin and all that, it's not, you can only lose points in certain situations for these guys. So yeah, you're going to have to identify at least the good finishing positions for sure for these guys, and just hope that they don't lose too many positions in the process, or at the very least lead some laps going into it as well. So yeah, I mean, that's what you're up against here for this track. That's what we're up against in this race. I think it's close to getting time to being able to give you those favorite plays. But before we do, as I keep pushing buttons, let me tell you about Gametime. Buying tickets is absolutely a disaster anymore. This world has made it so frustrating to buy tickets that you almost don't want to do it. I miss the days where you could walk up to the counter and purchase a ticket and not have to pay convenience fees and all that other stuff. And then doubly so when you're buying it from most of these ticket apps. These convenience fees, They're very inconvenient. I'll tell you that much right now. So stop all of that. There is one app that has made all of this just a moot point now and a thing of the past, and that's Gametime. If you buy tickets from Gametime, purchase those tickets, you're going to have a much better experience. And not to mention, you're going to do it in a lesser amount of time. So let's say you don't know whether or not you get to go to your favorite concert, your favorite sporting event, your favorite comedy show, whatever it could be, until the day before, until the same day. Who knows? I don't know your schedule, but if you find out late and you need to buy tickets, most of the time you're stressing out because you don't know if you're going to get gouged. You don't know if you're going to find tickets. That's all right. Gametime is going to give you great deals on last minute tickets to make that purchase a lot less stressful, and flash deals. So you can even figure out whether or not you want to go based on a flash deal. You're going to get a Gametime guarantee as well. If you buy it on Gametime, your tickets are going to be on time and authentic, guaranteed. And if you find lower prices on the seat, Gametime is going to make up the difference 110% of it. Man, can't even find a better deal than that. Plus, you're going to get your tickets straight to your phone. You won't have to fish through emails. You won't have to wait in the mail. And if you're buying them last minute, you won't even get them in the mail anyway. So all of that makes Gametime the perfect opportunity, the perfect app for you to buy tickets. So snag the tickets without the stress with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use code SGPN. You're going to get $20 off of your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code SGPN for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Win bigger by betting smarter this NFL season with Hall of Fame Bets, the sports betting analytics platform for parlays, player props, and game lines. Research every NFL, NBA, MLB, and soccer bet with historical stats and data. Enter any parlay into Hall of Fame Bets Revolutionary Parlay Optimizer, and you're going to get hit rates broken down by leg as well as expected probability for the entire play. Sort all players by hit rate for any bet to learn which players are hot, which picks have value. Stop betting in the dark. Join over 30,000 users researching with Hall of Fame Bets to craft more intelligent, data-driven parlays. Download the Hall of Fame Bets app or visit hofbets.com. Use promo code SGPN to get 50% off of your first month today. Start researching, start winning with Hall of Fame Bets. Right, Cody, as we always do, we will begin with our high-price drivers for this Bank of America ROVAL 400 DFS slate.
Yeah, I am just going straight to the top of the board. Talked about him in the betting episode. I think this is his weekend. I think this will be his day. Give me Chase Elliott, 10,500. Most expensive guy on the board, Rod, but for good reason. We've talked about it before, right? He's kind of known as the road course ace, the road course king, all of that. But since we've been in the next gen car, hasn't gotten it done on a road course yet, although he's been pretty good at all the road courses, just not necessarily the dominant car like he was before. But Rod, one that he should have won was this race last year. Obviously, the cardboard got him. We all know about that. Go ahead and take your shot for that mention of cardboard. But last season, he led 30 laps. I mean, he had checked completely out of the field, was running away with it. And I think I'm almost certain he did do both. He did flip both, or not flip both stages. I think he took the stage points on both stages and still found his way up to the front. But again, not a guy. Now he is fourth in the Constructors Championship, right? The owners' points. So there's a possibility they're racing for that. But I think if this team thinks they can win, that's much more important. They still are viewing the championship for the car as important, but if you can get Chase Elliott back in victory lane, that's the ultimate goal, right? So I don't think they flip the stages. I think he'll lead this. So chance he starts good and starts up front well, but I think he's going to find his way to the front. And I think he's going to lead a ton of laps. But you go back and you look at what he's done on the ROVAL here. So we're 5 races in, 6th place in the first race here. But then the second race, they came here in 2019. He led 35 laps, won the race. 2020, 27 laps he led, won the race. 2021, he only led 2 laps and he finished 12th. But 2022, last year, like I said, he led 30 laps. Unfortunately, the finish ended up being 20th after the chaos there at the end. But Chase Elliott's been good at this track. He's been good at road courses in general. And even though I know that the road course win hasn't come yet, he's had some strong runs last year. Should have won at Watkins Glen. He dominated a lot there. Then Larson ends up getting him late. He was one of the fastest car at Sonoma next to Larson last season. And then, he had Larson had the tire come off, but Elliott had some pit road penalty or something that cost him. And so it's not like he's just been shit all of a sudden on road courses. He's still been good. He's still been fast. I think Chase Elliott's getting it done this weekend. I think he could do it in somewhat dominating fashion, much like he was doing just a year ago at this track. And if we don't get that late, again, that's going to be the biggest problem is if we get that late cardboard caution and it screws him over again. But if we don't get that, or if he's able to survive it at the end, give me Chase Elliott all the way at the top of the board, 10,500. And another point too, I want to make, I just think he's safer because you don't have to worry about it, right? You've got the Reddicks up there. You've got even the Larsons up there. And we're going to talk about him in a minute, but those guys are a little bit more scary for me because are they going to points race? Are they going to try and flip these stages? I don't feel like it's as guaranteed of a production as you're going to get from Chase Elliott, who's got the opportunity to be one of the fastest cars, one of the best cars, hopefully starting up front, getting you a good finish, leading you laps, getting fastest laps, all in the process.
It must be freeing for him to just know that he's not worried about trying to win this championship. I mean, I know all things considered, he would rather be running for the championship, but if you're just going to go out for a nice leisurely Sunday stroll, it's got to be a much more relaxing atmosphere to know that if I want to just go out and try to win this race, that's exactly what I'm going to try to do. And you're right. I mean, with this Constructors Championship, obviously it means a lot. It means a lot of money for these guys, but winning kind of gets you there faster than
he's like I said, he's fourth in that right now. So he's if he can get a good finish, he should be able to move. I think I don't have that in front of me. I think it's like 22 points to the good or something. So he's not super on the bubble. He's not locked in either, but I think that's kind of minimal in their mind when it comes to this. Especially if they feel like they've got a chance to flip the stages and win the race, I think they're going to go that route.
Yeah, I agree with you on that too. Again, and I'll even take it one further because I know that you're a little bit about Kyle Larson. He's $10,000. I am going to take a chance on Kyle Larson on this DFS slate for a couple of different reasons. One, listen, he's only 15 points ahead, 15 points to the good right now as far as the playoff standings are concerned. I understand points racing, and I get that, most teams really want to do this, but if Kyle Larson is going to advance, the best chance for him to do it is right now with a win. I think if you're Kyle Larson, if you're that team, points racing gets so many of these guys in trouble. It seems to me like most times when these guys are point race, especially on road courses, right? They get it wrong. And Kyle Larson's been on the bad end of that too, as I know it was a tire, but if he would have stayed out in front, would the pit crew have done differently? I don't know. There's a lot of different things, especially like we talked about in Sonoma with him having that problem. And for Kyle Larson, they are a road course team. They are just as good as Chase Elliott on these road courses, right? It used to be that it was Kyle Larson and Chase Elliott in the same conversation as far as who's a good road course driver. So for me, I feel like this team doesn't want to mess around with points racing, and it shouldn't want to mess around with points racing. I think the safest way for Kyle Larson to do this is to do what they always do and just try to go out and win a race, right? And for Kyle Larson, that's doable, especially on this track. He has won on this track before. He won in 2021 after starting 10th. And then even in 2018, the very first time around, he started 5th, led 47 laps in that 42 car, right? Ended up finishing 25th, but he led 47 laps in a 109 lap race, which is a damn good run. He's led 5 laps and 8 laps in the other two respectively. Last year, we talked about it. He started 18th, finished 35th. Not really all that great here for him. But you look at what he's done so far on road courses this season. Hasn't been too much to write home about. Austin, he finished in 14th. Go through with Sonoma, he finished 8th. Chicago, he finished 4th. Indy GP, he finished 8th. So not necessarily the most solid, but we're not looking for him to really win, I suppose, this race for DFS purposes. We just want him to have a good day as far as DFS is concerned. This season, he's averaging 41.6 fantasy points per race. That is a very solid fantasy points per race. In fact, he is 4th on the list behind Hamlin, Truex, and Byron as far as the best for the price. So, for me, he can get you 16 points like he did last week, or he can get you 53 like he did the week before that, or he can get you 110 like he did at Bristol. Like, the ceiling is high for Kyle Larson. And I understand the concerns as far as the points racing aspect of it, but wouldn't you just want to go out and win a race? Like I just feel like for Kyle Larson and this team, winning this race would be more productive than going out and getting 10 stage points here or 5 stage points there.
I don't know if I trust Cliff Daniels either. Like, Cliff Daniels is one of the best crew chiefs in the garage, obviously, but it does seem like on road courses, anytime they've tried to play strategy games, and like that was the same thing with the Sonoma deal last year where Suarez ended up winning that race with both him and Elliott. It was like, what are you doing? Like, the strategies they tried weren't normal strategies. They were weird, fucked up strategies, and came nowhere. Obviously, they had other issues later, but they came nowhere close to being like they were going to work anyway. So it was like, so again, yeah, how much do you trust yourself? How much do you want to have those points in your pocket to try and make sure you're advancing? That's what scares me. That's what's going to be interesting. I will say, I mentioned it, right, with Chase Elliott last year, led a bunch of laps, bad finish. You mentioned it with Larson in 2018, led a bunch of laps, bad finish. Some of these lineups you might want to make where you're just playing place differential. It might just be super speedway place differential. That could be not in your cash games probably, but some of these bigger GPP contests and stuff like that might be a safer way to go about this, just because there could be so much chaos, and predicting who's going to do what strategy is so tough, because like I made a case for Denny Hamlin on the betting episode earlier this week. And then the more you think about it, it's like, well, if he's got the opportunity to get himself 2 stage points and carry those points forward, because he's already locked, or he's going to be locked in probably by the time we get to the stages. Like, do they just take that instead of trying to go for the win? And there's so much that goes into this race. It's more than just racing each other and racing the track. You're also racing the strategies and the points and the chaos that could potentially come. Like, just so many things that go into this.
And I could understand if he was below the cut line to play a little, a few more games here and there. But again, if you're 15 points up, it's not
yeah,
a
well,
lot.
And that's, like a Reddick, right? He comes in below the cutoff. Now it's only 2 points, but he's still below. And so they've got to pay attention to the points more than Kyle Larson still needs to pay attention to the points, obviously. But a guy like Reddick, like, notice he's not on either of our cards, even though he's probably the best the best road course racer right now in the Cup Series in this next gen car. He has been easily. But it's just real scary with those guys, because you don't know how they're going to handle it. And again, it's going to depend on the situation they're in. And if Reddick starts on the pole, he's going to be extremely popular play. If he starts on the front row, he's going to be extremely popular play. I'm going to fade it personally, because I think he leads a ton of laps early, but then he gets behind the field strategy-wise to lead the 2 laps at the end of the stage 2 then, when everybody pits. But so that's just how I'm personally handling it. But you're going to have to create your own narrative as far as the one of 6,000 different ways this race could go.
It's true. And we've built a couple of them. So we'll get back to you on that. Tomorrow, we will bring you a Underdog fantasy episode heavy with our favorite Underdog fantasy plays. But in the meantime, Underdog Fantasy's got a way to play alongside your favorite football team all season long, or drive along with your favorite drivers. Underdog has just introduced Scorchers. Go 5 for 5 and pick 'em Scorchers. Enjoy a spicy 100 times payout. Underdog is matching your first deposit up to $100. Graphics a little behind, but that's all right. It's up to $100. $100,000 Sundays continues on Underdog Fantasy. 10 lucky players is going to win $10,000 each. Again, stick with us. Tomorrow we'll give you all of our favorite Underdog Fantasy plays for this slate. So watch along, drive along, make your picks, and maybe make a little cash over on Underdog's mobile app or website, underdogfantasy.com. When you sign up with the promo code SGPN, Underdog's going to double your first deposit up to $100. That's Underdog Fantasy promo code SGPN. Let's take a quick step down in price, and we will give you now our mid-tier driver suggestions for this slate. Cody, where are we going?
Yes, next up for me, I'm going to go to Christopher Buescher, $8,800. He's going to be my mid-tier guy. Another guy we talked about again on the betting episode. A guy that is just so freaking good at road courses, Rod. If you look, trying to find it here, since the start of the 2020 season, Chris Buescher has the 4th best average finish of all drivers at 9.7 on the ROVAL. And on all road courses since 2020, Buescher has the second best average finish at 10.5, 10 top 10 finishes in 19 races. Last season, he was 6th here at the Roval. The season before, he finished 3rd at the Roval. And again, the last 9 road course races in a row, 11th place or better. 8 of those 9, he's been inside the top 10, and 11th in that other one. He's a guy that's consistently getting, again, this is much like Austin Hill. They're almost the same driver in different series. And it's kind of funny because they're both kind of like the country guy that's kind of, a little quiet or not super flashy, but they just deliver you fucking results and they get you wins and they get you good fit. Like, that's what you're going to get out of Chris Buescher. Going to lead a ton of laps? Probably not. Can he? Sure, he absolutely could. But what is his? I think he is his points. Let me pull. I'm trying to pull that up.
Buescher right now, he's at 19 to the good right now.
Okay, so yeah, so he's sitting pretty decent, anyways. Why do they have? Weird. The NASCAR app is strange, but anyways, yeah. So yeah, 19 points to the good. That's a pretty good situation for him to be in. After stage 1, depending on if some people have fallen out or whatever, if he scores some points there, I'm not too concerned about what his strategy ends up being, because I think by the end of the race, he's just going to have you a solid finish. That's all you're looking. You're not looking for him to lead you a bunch of laps. You're not looking for him to win the race necessarily for this. You just need him to get you a nice solid finish. And 9 races in a row on road courses, top 11 the last 2 times here. He's 6th and 3rd. So again, he's one of the better, as far as consistency wise, he's one of the best at road courses. I just read off the stats, right? He's 4th best since 2020 on all the road courses, or 4th best at the Roval, 2nd best at all the road courses since 2020. Just consistently get you the good finishes. No wins in that span, no bunch of laps led or anything like that, but going to be there at the end, going to get you that good finish. That's what you're looking for out of a guy at this price. So give me Chris Buescher, 8,800.
Yes, Chris Buescher is always a good DFS play. He's almost turning into the Kevin Harvick of the DFS. You get kind of free square for him is a top 10 finisher. So definitely like that. I'm stepping down a little bit farther. I'm going to Joey Logano, who again is one of the hardest guys to handicap. But as far as DFS is concerned, a GPP play, if ever there was one. I'm a little disappointed in him overall. Obviously, he's a little disappointed in overall this season. He's really come back with a title defense that fell flat. Obviously, not in the playoffs anymore. So for him, I mean, we want to talk about points racing. He doesn't care about points now. He really does just want to go out and go after the win. Something that has eluded him on the Roval altogether. But he did start on the pole last season, led 27 laps before he fell back to an 18th place finish. But again, he was actually chasing after a championship last season, which, we talk about points racing. That's kind of what happens to these guys. They start on the pole, they don't get the right call, and then they end up finishing 18th. But before that, a 7th place finish and a 2nd place finish on the Roval to go along with a couple of top 10 finishes as far as the Roval is concerned as well. Really, his average finish here is 9.4. So in those 4 attempts, he's been solid on this Roval. I mean, if nothing else, you can say whatever you want about him all over the place, but on this Roval, he actually has been pretty solid. And if you look at where he falls within the realm of the top drivers on this Roval, he falls only behind Tyler Reddick as the 2nd best driver on this Roval, tied with Alex Bowman for 2nd in that category, by the way, in average finish. Tyler Reddick, a 7.3 average finish for him. Joey Logano, 9.0 since 2020. So again, these guys very, very solid on this Roval altogether. If I read off his road course finishes to you, you're probably going to go, ew, but I'll do it anyways. 10th place at Watkins Glen, 30th at the Indy Road, or 34th rather at the Indy Road course, 3rd at Sonoma, 28th at Coda, 18th at the Roval last year, 3rd at Watkins Glen, 6th at the Indy Road course last year, 27th at Road America. I mean, look, it's not sexy. It's going to make you probably sick to your stomach to put him in a few of your lineups. But if the ceiling is a 2nd place finish like he did in 2020, I'll take that. Even if it's a 7th place finish like he did with 4 laps led in 2021, I'll even take that. So for Joey Logano, he's not going to be popular. He's not going to have a ton of people on him. So in a GPP situation, if he can get you a decent amount of points, I think you're going to separate yourself very well, especially $8,200.
Yeah, I think he'll be, again, a different play. A lot of people aren't going to be on him because it's really on our road courses. But again, hardest guy to predict week in and week out. So I got nothing else for you on Joey. I just never know which way to go with him.
And that's why
Which
you
yes,
go
that's
for
why.
guys.
Yeah, I don't play him very often because, yeah, sure he could be good, but he could also fucking suck because And so again, in those GPPs where you're trying to make that difference, I think he is a good play.
And that's the thing about DFS too. And we probably, we don't have to spend a lot of time on it because people here play DFS and they know the situation. But if you don't bet, like the difference between it is for DFS purposes, it'll blow up one lineup. Hopefully that's not your only lineup. And we tell you always play a couple of lineups and differentiate yourself. But if Joey Logano tanks, he only tanks in one lineup, right? Whereas if you bet on Joey Logano to finish top 10 and he doesn't finish top 10, he blows your whole day. So, like, have more than one lineup when you're doing these things, because if Joey Logano tanks one lineup, okay, he tanks one lineup. You still have 5 or 6 more to go. Or if you're somebody who does 150 more to go. But, yeah.
Yeah. And again, in betting, you're just betting again, you're betting what you think he does. Whereas in DFS, you've got to use some strategy because you're playing against a pool of people and there's so many other people you have to beat. And so when a guy like Joey Logano is not going to be a popular pick, then being able to differentiate yourself there and have him and he can be the difference maker for you. And all of a sudden it's like, whoa, Joey Logano just finished 4th. Like, who the fuck saw that coming? And like, yeah, sure, you probably didn't see it coming, but it worked out for you in your lineup because you played him to be different and you knew he had the capability of doing it. So it is a good strategy to play for sure.
All right. We're going to take steps down even further and give you our low price drivers of the slate. I recognize one name on there. I think his picture's about to make an instant appearance on this broadcast. But Cody, who do we got?
Next up for me, Rod. Here is the picture, of course, making its appearance like it always does. Corey LaJoie, again, talked about him on the betting episode, about him being a long shot top 10 finish, and that's what makes him a great DFS play. He's got the capability of doing that. Case in point, last year, chaotic finish at the end. Corey LaJoie finished in 12th place. Really, that's probably about as far as you need to go. Like, that's what he has the capability of doing. 5,800, again, still super cheap, and he can deliver you good points. Rod gave him out on this show. Or no, wait, we didn't, because we didn't pick. I would have picked him last week, but we did the wheel. But 73.2 points for you at Talladega. Probably not going to do that this weekend, but he's, again, just delivers you really, really good results. You go back through his deal here. The Indianapolis road course, he did have a bad day where he got you -2 points. And then back in New Hampshire, got you -0.6. But otherwise, like, he gets you points every week. And a lot of weeks are good points: 17, 20, 22, 22, a 65, a 13, but then a 44. Get some 35s in there. He is delivering for you. Go back and you look. Before last year, not good finishes at the Roval, but that was, Spire before the next gen car. That was Go Fast Racing. It's hard to look at that too much. And what really stands out to me, if you look, starting at the Indy road course last season, as far as road courses go, things really changed for the better for LaJoie. 18th place he finished there, 27th at Watkins Glen, but then 12th at the Roval. This year, 11th place at Coda, 20th at Sonoma. Even 20th is just fine for a guy that's this cheap. He was 29th at the Indy road course. And the only reason he got you negative points that day is he qualified really good. Roddy qualified at 14th. So that's where he got scored from. He did have to start in the back, though, because of they had to change something, unapproved adjustments. They got sent to the back. That was also no cautions for the stages. Everything was getting strung out. So there wasn't really, this is going to be so much different than those races because they're bunching everybody back up. Things are going to be flipped. Guys like Corey LaJoie are going to be in front of Tyler Reddick's and Kyle Larson's and stuff at the end of these stages because they're going to have not flipped the stage, or they're going to have flipped the stage, whereas those guys stayed out, get the points, or whatever the deal is. And something too to this flipping stage points, like, the people aren't trying to point their way into the playoffs anymore too. So that's something to keep in mind as far as, in the past you'd have guys like a Corey LaJoie would stay out to try and get those 10 points because they could mean a lot for getting into the top 30 or whatever the deal was. Don't have to worry about all that. But anyways, good finishes. And then, like I talked about on the betting episode when I talked about LaJoie, he can start well too. He's been qualifying really well. He's qualified well in the last couple of road courses. And that's not going to help him place differential wise, but it could get him the better track position to start. If he can hold on to it and deliver at the end of the day, he doesn't. I think sometimes people get scared off when guys start fairly deeply and they're afraid to play him. I mean, you go back and you look at like Michigan, he qualified. Oh wait, that was I was looking at the numbers backwards there. But you go back to Bristol a couple weeks ago. He started 10th, and so a lot of people are like, "Well, 5,500. How are you going to play somebody?" But he finished 25th. Wasn't the best day of the world, but still scored you 20.3 points. Like, still had a nice solid day for you. Even at Watkins Glen, where he started in 10th, he finished 20th, but still scored you 13 points. Again, not losing you a ton of points, and that's a big positive when you get down to this low. But he's got that upside of the 12th place finish last year, and I think that we're going to see another solid week from Corey LaJoie. Obviously, things are progressing quickly in that Spire camp, right? There's big steps going on. Making a lot of money. They got a lot of money coming in. You're seeing that performance on the track. You're seeing that in qualifying. They're looking forward to continuing to grow, and I think they're already working on that this season. So Corey LaJoie, 5,800 is my cheap play of the week for you.
Corey LaJoie. Stop us if you heard that one before. Definitely. Yeah, for DFS purposes, I mean, that's the type of play you want, right? Especially at $5,800, a guy with severe upside like Corey LaJoie has. All right, my next one, I'm not going quite as low, but I'm going to definitely go low. And I mean, I knew you were going to take LaJoie, so I definitely didn't want to go lower than that. But Ryan Preece at $6,300, I know Stuart Haas is plug your nose and play type of a situation. But here's the thing about Ryan Preece, especially on this Roval, right? And we're talking about place differentials hard to come by. But for Ryan Preece, not necessarily, because on this track, last season, especially in that 37 car, he started 31st, finished 19th. There's some pretty decent place differential for you. Obviously didn't lead any laps, didn't have any fast laps, but still got you some place differential points last season in particular. I'm not really going to go too much farther back in the Roval because obviously his finishes aren't that great. His starting positions aren't that great. 18th and 14th is what he started and finished at in that 37 car. The first season that he ran it, started 14th, finished 21st. He's at speed to be around the front regardless of where he's at. In fact, that first year he was in the 47 car where he started 14th and finished 22nd, or 27th rather. But so far this season, Austin was a pretty bad race for him. He started 26th, crashed out of that one. But Sonoma, pretty decent DFS day, started 22nd, finished 13th. And then Chicago started 28th, finished 15th. Couple of good road course finishes for him there. Indy GP, not much doing. He started 30th, finished 31st, but Watkins Glen started 30th, finished 17th. A couple of good DFS days for you there to turn that into. So to put that in perspective, as far as what we're talking about, as far as points for that, 39 points at Watkins Glen. Again, 9 points for you at the Brickyard, but not a good day for you as well. 41 points for you in Chicago, 39 points in Sonoma. Again, he's a pretty solid road course finisher, even though he starts poorly. So for $6,300, you'll definitely take a 35, 36, even a 40-point day out of Ryan Preece. So I like Ryan Preece this week for DFS purposes.
Yeah, no argument from me here. Again, probably a guy that's not going to be super popular too. So I do like the difference of that. Rod, we're pretty good at this. We did not plan this out, but $100 left if you were to enter this lineup. So, God, we're on it.
I mean, we haven't done how many of these now?
It's been one or two. We've talked once or twice before.
Yeah, and what's crazy is that so for that you can get both Elliott and Larson in a lineup, right? I mean, that's something that people aren't probably going to try to do. So
yeah, and it's always road courses are just so tough because there's only so many, like max points, dominator points. Like you kind of, if you're going to play both of them, you got to get it to line up where they each lead like half the race and they finish first and second, which I've seen them do it before and they could, but that's tough to do that. But that shows you, right? That's getting the two biggest guys in there and how good of a lineup. You didn't have to dip that far. Like LaJoie is not going down to the guys all the way at the bottom. And and a Priest is a pretty solid, punt play or cheaper play, whereas you're not going all the way down to the bottom of the guys that just, again, don't offer a ton of upside all the way at the bottom there. So, I think these are some pretty good plays this week.
Yeah, and listen, there's just no way you're going to feel comfortable with a Balicki, a Dillon, even an Andy Lally in this one. I made a case for him on the betting episode, so I probably should have put him in there.
Yeah.
But
I mean, it's worth it's in your chaos lineup. It's worth it, right? You want to do a super speedway, I probably will. I'll probably go in and build a lineup or two that's act like I'm building a super speedway lineup, just because I think there could be so much chaos, but hopefully it doesn't turn completely into that.
Fingers crossed, my friend. Yes. Fingers crossed. All right, get out your pen and paper. We'll go over our plays for this DFS slate. Cody started you out with Chase Elliott at 10,500. I threw in his teammate Kyle Larson at 10,000 even. Cody gave you Chris Buescher at 8,800. I gave you Joey Logano at 8,200. Cody gave you Corey LaJoie at 5,800. And then I gave you Ryan Priest at 6,300. However, I want to know who Beecher is. In the doc, I think autocorrect hit Cody hard.
I recently got a new phone, and for whatever reason, I don't know why it doesn't learn the words that I'm used to typing, so it keeps correcting my names when I'm typing things. God damn it!
You're like, listen, no, I want Buescher.
No,
not
I want
Beecher.
Buescher in here. Jeez, come on.
I don't know who Beecher is, but I'll put him in the lineup as well. All right, that'll do it for the DFS episode this week. Hopefully you guys go out and build yourself some fun DFS lineups, and hopefully you cash. That's really the ultimate goal of this. But more importantly, enjoy the race. This one will be a fun one, I suppose. I still hate the Roval, but hopefully it gives us a good race. I'm willing to admit when it's a good race, even though I hate the track. So hopefully I'll be eating my words, and we'll all be cashing on our DFS and our betting lineup. So, all right, Cody, as we send everybody off into the sunset on their Friday evenings, why don't you remind everyone where they can find you on social media?
Follow me on X at Husker_Zeeb. Rod, we're doing our Underdog show tomorrow, so for Saturday, so we won't have Xfinity plays on there, but I have an all Xfinity lineup or all Xfinity picks that I've tweeted out or I've posted on X. Oh God, so many words. But it's all Xfinity drivers. This is a pretty fun one. So go over to my X at Husker_Zeeb. You can get that there and tail me on it, because this is a fun one. I like this. It's gonna be a good time.
Yep. I mean, those are all the bonus that you can find. So yeah, follow Cody on X at Husker_Zeeb. Follow me on X at RJ Villagomez. Link in the bio, everything I got going on, whether it's here. Make sure you check out In Between Media, The Back Road, Seth and Elliott breaking down the Roval for you as well. Catch me later on today. You can actually probably find it by the time you listen to this at For Frequency's Sake. I got Fast Money coming out as well. Back tomorrow, Underdog Fantasy, a special Saturday edition of the NASCAR Gambling Podcast. Enjoy, everyone. Until then, let's go racing and let it ride.